I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Our Lady of Guadalupe and kind of the history, the background, and then about the image itself. So, the Spaniard people had gone to Mexico, which was like Aztec land at the time, right? And they went to Mexico and they were there to convert the native people. And the native people had never seen a person with white skin before. So the native people were convinced that they were seeing gods, right? That gods were appearing to them. And one of the first things that the Spaniards realized was that the Aztec people were sacrificing humans, right? And they were like, yeah, this is not good. We need this to stop. So they told the Aztec people to stop sacrificing humans. So the Aztec people had previously been essentially cutting out people's hearts, bringing them to the top of the hill of sacrifice, and then feeding them to the eagles, right? And so this is what they were accustomed to, what they were doing, and they thought that it was protecting them from the sun god and the moon god ending the world. So Juan Diego is on his way to Mass one morning after the Aztec people had realized that the Spaniards were not gods, right? So Juan Diego is a convert. He's on his way to Mass. And on his way to Mass, he hears this voice, Juan Dieguito, come near. Which is like little Juan Diego, like, come here, right? So he goes to the voice and he sees this beautiful woman, right? And this beautiful woman is like, Juan Dieguito, I need you to tell the bishop that I want a church built at the top of this hill, right? So Juan Diego, being the faithful man that he is, he goes to the bishop and he's like, Bishop, the woman told me to build a church at the top of this hill. And the bishop was like, no, right? So Juan Diego goes home and he goes by the woman again and he says, the bishop said no. And so Mary was like, well, come back tomorrow and we'll talk about this again. So the next day, Juan Diego goes by Mary. Mary's like, hey, tell the bishop to build a church. Juan Diego goes to the bishop. The bishop is like, 2 days in a row, that's interesting. Maybe you're not as crazy as I thought. Tell the woman I want a sign, right? So he goes back and he goes to Mary and he says the bishop wants a sign. And Mary's like, all right, come back tomorrow and I will give you the sign for the bishop, right? In the night, Juan Diego's uncle gets sick and he's going to die. So Juan Diego decides that he is going to try to avoid the Mother of God. So he tries to sneak around the other side of the hill. Of course, being the Mother of God, Mary could see him. And she was like, Juan Diego, what are you doing? Where are you going? And he was like, oh, sorry, Mary, my uncle's sick. I gotta go get the priest to give him the last rites. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll do this thing again, okay? And Mary's like, am I not here? I who am your mother. She appears to the uncle at the same time, heals him of his sickness. And then she's like, all right, Juan Diego, your uncle is taken care of. I need you to go up the hill and pick these flowers, which, by the way, is the sign that the bishop wanted. He wanted these specific flowers that do not grow in Mexico and do not grow in winter, right? But these are the ones that were growing at the top of this hill. So he picked these flowers and he brings them to the bishop. He puts them in his shirt or his mantle, right? Which is made of cactus fiber, which should be well decayed by now. There should be nothing of it left, right? So he puts it in his shirt. And he brings it to the bishop and he's like, Bishop, I have your sign. And he drops the flowers. But as he drops it, this image of Our Lady of Guadalupe appears on the fabric, right? So this is where we get this image. It's not painted. In fact, when it's been examined, they've realized that there is no way for this to be painted. There's no under image of this image. It's just a straight image. There's if I were to paint something, I would first draw the thing and then I would paint it and I would make changes along the way. And I wouldn't probably follow my first initial guide, right? There's none of that. This is all original, right? It's instantaneous image. Okay, so in her eyes, doctors, eye doctors have looked into her eyes and they've discovered that in her eyes are the 13 people that were in the room. And they look exactly like human eyes, right? So they're anatomically correct, as if they were a human eye, which is fantastic because they did not have that technology to know what the inside of a human eye looked like or what a reflection of another person would look like in a person's eye, especially something like this small, right? And then the people were worried that the sun god and the moon god were going to destroy the earth because they had stopped sacrificing humans to them. Mary, in this image, she is first of all in front of the sun, and on top of the moon, stating that she is greater than the sun god and the moon god. However, in the Aztec images, the Aztec gods would look upward triumphantly, right? And Mary is looking downwards. So she is stating that she is not God, but she is greater than the sun god and the moon god. And then, this is really cool. In her womb is this flower here. So this flower is the image they would put on their gods, right? So she is stating that she is not a god. However, God is in her womb, okay? And then, kind of along the same lines, I'm trying to show you the flowers here. So this is kind of a good view of this, right? So you can kind of see here, like an upside down heart, right? Which the Aztec people knew what a heart looked like because they were cutting them out so frequently, right? So this is anatomically more like a human heart than we would see like on Valentine's Day, right? And it's got this artery connecting itself from the brown of earth to the blue of heaven, right? So what this is stating is, and by the way, there's like a face there. You can see that there's an eye, there's a mouth, there's a nose. So this is a human heart on earth connected to heaven, like with like the arteries still attached. So you can be on earth connected to heaven without cutting out your heart. This is like something that the Aztec people would have picked up on right away and understood, right? And then in this image, you can see a bunch of like stars, right? And the stars are actually exactly as if you were looking up at the sky that night, right? So they're correct for that night of that year, that the stars were exactly in the place that they are on her mantle. However, they're not as if we were looking up to her, as if she is looking down on us from heaven. So that is really cool. And then if you would have continued the constellations, Leo the lion, the constellation, would be over her womb, and over her head was a crown of stars. So the corona constellation was, which means crown in Spanish, was over her head, crown of 12 stars, yes. At one point, somebody tried to bomb the image of Our Lady Guadalupe. It did not have bulletproof glass, and in fact, windows went out. I can't remember if it was miles or I don't know how far away, but the windows went out in a lot of places nearby. At some point, somebody spilled acid. They were trying to clean the picture frame, and they spilled acid, but they thought that the image was done for because this acid was highly corrosive and it should have decayed the whole image. But instead, it just left this like battle scar here. It's not a battle scar, but it's a stain. There's the word. Her hands are folded in prayer, right? So she's praying like the Spaniards would pray. However, her knee, you can see her knee out bent here. She is also dancing. So she's dancing and she's praying, which the Aztec people, when they would pray, they would dance. So she's stating you can dance, you can pray. Either way, you can dance, you can pray with your hands folded like you're praying, right? She has the brooch of the Spaniard missionaries, the Catholic missionaries here that she is wearing, stating that she is with the Spaniards, that she's Catholic. And her hands, again, there are two different colors here. So we have the darker Aztec skin color and the white Spaniard skin color. And then her face is a completely different color. It's a mixture of the two. So what happened when the Spaniards came was that the Aztecs had babies with these people. And because they thought that they were gods. But the moment that they realized that they were not gods, they were kind of these outcasts. So these mixed-skin people were the outcasts of the people. So Mary was giving dignity to the Spaniards, to the Aztecs, and to the mixed-skin babies that were just being thrown out on the streets and not taken care of, right? So she gave dignity to all of them. Her hair is down, so she's a virgin, right? However, she's wearing this belt here, so she's stating that she is pregnant. So she is the pregnant virgin. Pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, on the bottom here, the eagle that is holding Our Lady Guadalupe has the face of Juan Diego, okay? So that's kind of cool how she incorporated Juan Diego into the image as well. He is holding on to earth and onto heaven, so he's holding on to the two. And yeah, it's just really cool. His name, Juan Diego, means eagle that speaks in their language, which is really quite fascinating if you think about like the way that they were offering human sacrifices. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, Our Lady Guadalupe is super, super cool. And I love her a lot. And you should love her too. And she loves you so stinking much. When she appeared in Mexico, 9 million people converted to Catholicism because they were able to read her image like a book. She was speaking to them in the way that they spoke, right? Just like you and I would read a book and understand it, like they could read an image and understand it. And there's more to this image than I can even tell you, but it's pretty cool. And yeah, 9 million people entered the church in Mexico because of this image, and at the same time 9 million people fell away from the church from the Reformation in Europe. So that's just really cool timing. Also, December 12th is when she appeared, and this image is described in Revelations 12. So she was that's like a really neat connection between the day and her. Yes, because the woman clothed with the stars and the moon under her feet, like something like that. Like it's describing her in Revelations, which is really, really neat. Yeah, so this is Our Lady Guadalupe. I love her a lot, and I hope that you come to love her a lot as well. When I was in the convent, a lot of my birthdays were Our Lady Guadalupe themed because I loved her so much. Anyway, God bless. Our Lady Guadalupe, pray for us, and have a great rest of your day. Ciao.